What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining me here on Monday, May the 11th. Today we're going to be going over our end of day recap. Today I ended up going with calls on the day. I ended up buying 740 calls at around the point where we ended up getting the retest of our 737.91 level. Today when we opened, we gapped down a little bit, but that was just a very minor gap down compared to like a big major gap down where our trend is officially pushing down to the downside. But right off the bat, as soon as we opened, we got that gap out the way and pushed above our key pivot. The main key pivot that we were watching for on the day was 737.91. That's just due to the fact that we hop on the 5 minute. On the 5 minute, we can see right here. It's not because this right here was during the day right here, but if we go back to our extended hours, we can see 737.91 was the level that we the last highest open that we had on the 5 minute that before the big giant drop down. Before then, every time we touched that level, we rejected it. Till finally today, we got that break above that level, and we held it. So that was my key indicator that we were getting an all-time high push. Once we got that all-time high push and held it on the 15-minute time frame, let me hop up my EMAs and my VWAP. But once we got that indicator that we broke above our key pivot on the 15 minute and we held above it every single time on 737.91. As soon as we got into the play, I missed this whole pump already. As you guys know, I would have missed it regardless. I don't really like to play the morning opening. I like to wait for the price action to consolidate a little bit or to do what it has to do. That way, I already have a good sense of direction on what the market wants to tell us. If I have to play for a reversal, for 9 a.m. reversal, or for a continuation. In today's case, we play that continuation because we got that close above our key pivot of 737.91. So as soon as we got the retest of our key pivot right here, which aligned with us holding above our 90 EMA on the 15-minute time frame, as soon as we got that close above our key pivot, retest of our key pivot, I mean, that's when we ended up playing calls. Because if you guys know, if I was to smack on these key pivots right here, if I was to smack on my fibs above, for our price targets are above all-time highs, we should like to smack our fibs from one level to another. So in this case right here, I'm gonna go ahead and smack on my fib as 733.63, push it all the way up to 737.91, because realistically there's no way to know what exactly to look for till we have some type of data. In today's case right here, I smack on my level from one fib to the other, from one key pivot to the other, and my fibs pretty much tells the story. We can see it above 737.91 is a hold towards our fib level, our 1.618 fib level of 740.58, which exactly what we did today. We held our key pivot of 737.91, and we ended up getting the push all the way towards that direction of 740.58. And also, if we look into our gamma maps, we can see that the gamma maps played a big role in this case, because 738, which aligns with the 737.91, our 737.91 key pivot, our 738 is our last strongest gamma level that holds us up before 737 looks weak right here. This is more like a neutral level right here. This is where it starts to flip from positive to negative gamma flip right here. And in this case right here, our positives are really strong right here. We can see in shares wise, we can see 84,000 coming into 738, 739, 94,000 in our strongest gamma level. Our strongest control node in the morning was 740. So in this case right here, we can see that the magnet is beaming towards that direction. So as soon as we got that retest of our key pivot, which also lined up with our main, gamma level that held us up from going from positive to negative. If we started going from positive to negative, we could have gotten a quick sweep below our key pivot down to our range to 733.63 key pivot down here. But in this case right here, we held up our key pivot, we held up our positive gamma, and I'm just gonna play what ended up happening right after. But as soon as we started holding up that positive gamma, we can see we just ended up getting the magnet all the way. It was pretty quick magnet too. We ended up getting the magnet all the way to 740, and today is one of those cases that we can see we have a good cluster of gamma strikes going on right here. But the only thing that's keeping me from not wanting to continue the push up above 740.58 is I'm not getting a real good clean. I'm gonna go ahead and pause this now. I'm not getting a real good clean read above. I'm not getting a real good clean read break above our Fibonacci level of 1.618, and in this case right here, we're not breaking above our heaviest gamma strike, which is 740 in this case right here. The only thing that we're doing is we're just rejecting off it. For us to have gotten a better clear sweep of better trend day, I would say we our largest our control node for the day would have to been below us. The fact that we're using it in this case right here as a wall, it's above us. That's just that would, and I mentioned it earlier in the day. That's just a good indicator to show us that we're kind of hitting a top right here in today's situation, and we're already looking for a situation where we're gonna start pushing towards looking for a range, that's exactly what we did. We ended up pushing towards our range, kind of similar to the area where we bought into. I saw a good amount of people bank on shorts up here as well, aka I was looking for a range, aka VWAP, and then eventually that's pretty much what we did. We just ended up breaking down a little bit into inside of the range overall. Once we saw the downside of the range over here, we ended up, aka the key pivot range over here, we ended up just seeing a VWAP day for the day. Pretty easy and clean day. Didn't complicate it too much. It was pretty much of a day of we're inside of our positive gamma. Our positive gamma looks heavy right here. Our one of our most positive gamma strikes is 738 in the morning, and it's keeping us from turning negative. I also have 737.91, which also aligns perfectly with our 738 gamma level that keeps us from going negative. So all my level and my data stacks up and adds up with each other, giving me extra confluence that we're gonna start testing our 740 range, which 740 is where I have my Fibonacci level above our all-time high level break, which also lines up with our 740 control node that we had in the morning, which was beaming all the way up there to 740. So it was just a simple day, made sure everything aligned with each other, and we just rode the wave. Any questions, fellas? I appreciate it, Nickel. Appreciate it, Nick. Bro, I saw you play ASTS, bro. I could have caught that with you, but I swear I got ADHD or something, bro. I gotta if I'm locked into something, I can't look at nothing else, bro. I'm gonna start taking ADHD meds, bro. Could you not? Bro, I'll be cracked out on Eddie's. Any questions, guys? If there's no more questions, then I recommend you guys stay a little bit longer. We're gonna go over our end of the day analysis, get ready for tomorrow, and from then we'll be ready for tomorrow. Yeah, so I treat the largest gamma, and they're visibly noticeable. Compared to other strikes, you can see there's a big difference in what actually has volume. But I pretty much just use those as magnets and walls. Once we already start breaking above that wall right there, which majority of the time, like 9 out of 10 times, I already have a level aligned right there as well. So everything just starts aligning where I have the my data on my gamma and data on my candlestick charts, and everything just lines up with each other. But yeah, I play the largest gamma strikes as walls for sure. support resistances. And in those when there's those clusters like that, they kind of show me a good range, which today pretty much just showed us between 738 and 741. We 738 and 741. We held above 738. We will see the 740 50 plus range. Once it already starts crossing that point 50 range, it already on the gamma heat map, it already starts showing that it's already under the strike because it has the ranges between point 0.50 and point 0.50 on the other side, and that, like in today's case, 740 would be the exact middle ground where it would show on the gamma map, but it will show that we're inside 740 strike between 740.50 and 739.50. I get my confirmations on the 15 and I get my entries on the 5 minute. Confirmations on the 15, entries on the 5 minute. Luckily for us, I was just looking for the retest of this fair value gap. Luckily for us, that fair value gap retest came by quick, you know. So as soon as we got that key pivot retest right there, we got into our calls and it swept a little bit down, but right away we can see the huge wick. And as soon as we saw that wick, shoot, it looked pretty money to us because we right away we recovered above the 90 MA on both time frames on the five. Well, on the 15 minute we never lost it, but more specifically on the 5 minute we recovered it quick, and on the 15 minute we could just continue the ride up. But alright, guys, if there's no more questions, then that's gonna be it for today. We're just gonna go over our end of day recap for the rest of the time. Thank you guys for joining. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining me here Tuesday, May 12th on our end of day recap. Today we're going over our end of day recap on why we took shorts. Today we ended up playing shorts just based off the fact that we had gap down. Let me see. I can't remember what shorts we took. We took 732s. So today we ended up gapping down below our key pivot of 737.92. 737.92 was just our key pivot, just due to the fact that if we were to go to all-time highs, this is the last level that it gave us our last rejection to. Now we go to regular hours. We can see on the 5 minute, this is the last highest open that we had before the rejection, before the continuation to the upside. So in this case right here, once we officially started breaking above 737.92, which used to be a wall that kept us from going towards our 740 range. So once we started breaking above 737.92, now we started creating a support right here. As soon as we started breaking above 732, 737.92, every time we tested our support range of our key pivot right there, I'm gonna go ahead and draw it out for you guys. Every time we tested our key pivot range right here, demand zone, every time we bounced up above it. So what made me get bearish right here is due to this gap down right here. We broke underneath our 737.92 key pivot, aka our demand zone right here, turning this. For me, what I'm looking is for this this support right here to turn into a resistance. So now that we're rejecting it, I'm looking to see what we do. So by this point right here, I already saw the market move quick down before I even got into it. So at this case right here, I'm looking for an entry in my case. So I see that we had already broken down and we already started testing our demand zone down here. So based off the demand zone retest right here, you guys know how I'd like to play my levels. My levels are kind of like a ping pong pattern to me, aka like a tennis game pattern, the way I set up my levels in the ranges. So right here we started breaking below this one right here, so now we're starting to test this lower part of ours of the field right here. So once we start testing our demand zone, it's like somebody smacks it on the other side of the field. So smack ping pong game. And not only that, I'm watching for a bearish staircase pattern on the 5 minute, which also for me, if I look into our gamma map at this morning time, we are currently underneath our control node of 737. So This control node lines up with my key pivot of 737.92. We are officially underneath it. We are 736 range. The way to look at gamma, if we are in positive range, our moves are more controlled, a little bit slower because we are in a positive range. Dips get bought up. And once we're inside of negative gamma, we tend to move a little bit more quicker. Hence how we saw the market move today. So for me, I'm watching for this rejection of our control node. We already see this big gamma wall getting rejected, which is the heaviest on the morning so far. So for me, I'm watching for this break of this control node to follow along with confirmation towards my key pivot down here. So in this case right here, my next key pivot was towards our 733.63 range. For us, it just ended up lining up. If I just press replay, let me get on the 5 minute, 2 times speed. As we ended up sweeping down, we just ended up our negative gamma just got heavier and heavier, and we ended up making our control node at 732 below. Once we started making that control node of 732, that ended up playing as the wall. But for for us, once we started showing up as a 732 control node, that was a perfect indicator for us that we already see it breaking down below our staircase pattern. We're waiting for the EMAs to catch up intraday wise because we just got down. We have, for me, I like to wait for a retest. I like to wait for EMAs, whether it's on the 5 minute or on the 15 minute. The 9 EMA is what I like to wait for my retest, and usually those EMA retests align up with something in our charts. For in this case right here, it's lining up with the rejection of our supply zone of 736.21 right here. So with us holding underneath our supply zone and waiting for the EMAs to catch up, especially on the 15-minute time frame, we can see the 9 EMA start catching up. Once the 9 EMA start catching up, that was just our confirmation that we're getting the full move all the way down to our key pivot. Once we start getting the, especially down here, just for the fact that we have a gap down here that we still haven't filled, so it was a perfect indicator that we're going to start pushing down to the downside on a continuation of our trend from our EMA, especially with the gamma being so negative on the day, giving us the full push all the way down to our key pivot right here. Our key pivot could probably been a little bit better, but obviously we're at all-time highs, so we got to touch them up at the end of the day. But still, indicators show that we were going to get the gap fill, and we ended up going all the way down to our next level right here of 732.10. And from there, we ended up making our next control node. And for me, the most logical explanation for that bounce is we ended up making a control node. We ended up making a heavy gamma wall down there, as we can see, 732, the heaviest gamma wall right there. So once we start testing that 732, start rejecting it, it also lines up with the retest of this 731.90, which for us this 731.90 is the retest of our fair value gap. So once we started testing and rejecting this fair value gap, that was pretty much wraps for it. A good fair value gap retest and rejection, back to the upside. Any questions, guys? Pretty simple day. We just follow the trend. Gamma was extremely heavy. We were under our heaviest gamma wall. We just followed the trend down to the downside. We waited for a retest, and yeah, that's pretty much it. As soon as we got the retest, as soon as we got the test of our 734.92 before we even got into the play, we saw it bounce up. That was our indicator that let's be patient. Let's wait for a short entry. If we make a double, if we start making a staircase on the 5 minute, which we did, 736.91, 736.69, 736.21, and boom, higher lows. Nice and easy day. I had, bro. I had tried Taiwanese pork chop. Any questions on the plays, guys? It was, I mean, like I said, it was a pretty simple day, but I'm not sure how good of a teacher I am. So, like I said, always give me any questions. That way I can answer them and get them out the way. It'll help you guys out as well. But pretty simple day overall. We try not to overcomplicate overcomplicate our setups. At the end of this session right here, we'll draw up our new key pivots, bro. I appreciate you, Nick. Hey, time back tomorrow. Come on, come on. We need another good moving price action day like today, and we'll catch it. 100%, bro. 100%. Just trying to keep it consistent, you know. Consistency with the amount I lose and consistency with the amount I win. So it's time to level up and add a little bit more money into the place. Mac, if the 15-minute EMA is really overextended, I usually like to wait for that 15 EMA retest to get it at least a little bit closer, like today. In today's case, I did not wait for this retest right here. I got it on this retest right here, just for the fact that we already knew if we start rejecting our supply right here, if we start rejecting our higher low, this 90 EMA is already pretty close right here. You know, right here compared to all the way up here that it was earlier, to right here from right here. So I just waited for the 15-minute 90 EMA to catch up a little bit quicker. But if the 15-minute, if some type of EMA, it could either be on the hourly, the 15-minute, the 5-minute, any EMA. I'm usually, if it's really overextended, I'm most likely gonna wait for. I'm most likely gonna wait for it to catch up, 100%. The, the only EMAs I really pay attention to are the 5-minute and the 15-minute. Heavy, the hourly, not so heavy, and that's it. Yeah, that was the setup today. Lower highs and higher lows for the breakdown, not the continuation down to the downside. Also on the 15-minute, I had those higher lows drawn up on the 5-minute. On the 15-minute, same thing. We could not sweep any of the higher lows on any 15-minute opens. Stay below. Good day overall. But alright, guys, I appreciate you guys stopping by tonight, and let's lock in tomorrow. Thank you guys for stopping by for the recap. What's going on, guys? It's Bangs. Thank you guys for joining me here on Wednesday, May 13th. Today we're going to be going over our end of day recap. Today we ended up going with 741 calls at a pretty good position. Today I ended up going towards I ended up playing the bounce instead of playing for the shorts, because if you guys watch the levels that we drew up yesterday, these levels are the same levels that we drew up last night at the end of our end of day recap. But we had seen that the last major bounce before the official breakout of this little consolidation right here was this candle open of 736.25. So this was my main key pivot. We can see it right here at this final staircase breakdown right here. We can see that this was the last hold of the key pivot right here, last hold of the key pivot. So I pretty much just waited for confirmation that we were gonna hold our key pivot, because we know that above our key pivot, our ranges from above 736.25 all the way up to 739.78 and 740.64. And not only that, we have our main key pivot right here, but if we look at our gamma charts, our gamma chart is pretty much right here. If we start breaking underneath 736, that's when we start slipping towards our negative gamma. Those strong negative to positive flips and positive to negative flips, those are really strong supports, depending on how it breaks. If it would have broke, obviously it would have broke our key pivot of 736.25 and our gamma wall of 736, flipping us to a short real quick, which was 736.25 was our stop loss for that case, because we knew that we would have started sweeping into our negative gamma, giving us the most likely option that we're going to start seeing the same low of date that we saw yesterday. But in this case right here, I'm betting for this 736 hold to hold up, especially on the 5 and the 5-minute. In the 5-minute, we never closed below it. We never closed below our key pivot of 736.25. But you guys know, I get my entries on the 5-minute, but I get my confirmations on the 15-minute. So if I get on the 15-minute, same thing. Every single time, no hold. If anything, the 90 MA, us holding and bouncing off our key pivot and closing above our 90 MA on the 15, that was also my biggest indicator because we are officially holding our key pivot. We are officially holding our positive to gamma flip, and we are officially holding our VWAP as well, especially on the 5 minute. Right here on the 15 minute, we're holding our main key pivot. On the 5 minute, we can see right away we started rejecting the 90 MA at first, but one of the main things I noticed as well is on this key pivot hold up right here. Not only did we hold our key pivot, we also started sweeping the higher lows, the lower highs. I mean, we also started sweeping the lower highs. So for us to should have stayed in a bearish scenario, we would have had to stay under our lower highs, which for us that would have been a staircase to the downside, which we did not get, and we did not get no confirmation underneath our key pivot. So we're holding our key pivot, we're sweeping lower highs, we're holding VWAP and our EMA. So as soon as we officially started getting bought up right back above our EMA on the 5 minute, that's when the trend just started carrying us, and right away we just started taking out first price target. And as soon as we started taking out the first price target of higher day, this was our validation that we're for sure not getting a double top. And I mentioned that as well. We already swept the high of day open with this candle right here. The 15 minute didn't sweep it, but well, actually it did right here with this 15 minute. But either way, we ended up sweeping it. 50, we chopped up a little bit, waiting for the 90 MA on the 15 to catch up. But every single time that with the 90 MA on the 15 minute caught up, we got a really good strong continuation. And another main thing I was looking at is I just drew up this little trendline breakdown right here. So not only was this trendline confirmation gave me the confirmation that we're gonna start seeing our supply zone above. This case right here is also kind of played out like a inverse head and shoulder, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. But overall, I like the odds that we had in the bullish scenario better. It's all about choosing the plays that have the best risk to reward. In this case right here, I've seen the best risk to reward majority of my charts calling to the upside, and we can see it as soon as we start closing above higher day, pushing above our demand zone of 738.11. We just started continuing our push towards our supply zone. If you guys have been here in the past couple classes, you guys know how I play these zones. So as soon as we started getting our test of our supply zone, we broke above our supply zone, giving us the confirmation above our key pivot. Our key pivot of 740.64 was our last key pivot, just to the effect that this is the last highest open that we had on the 5 minute and the 15 minute. So once we officially got that close above our key pivot on the 5 minute of 740.64, not only on the 5 minute but on the 15 minute as well. Once we got both those confirmations, that was the clear indication that we were going to get the next push all the way up to our fib level, which is 743.37. And you guys see this level right here, I didn't even move it. It just lined up. Our levels line up really well with the fibs every single time, and this right here just shows that I didn't move this level right here, but it gave us a real good price target to get to at all-time highs. And what do we do once we officially got there? This is the place where we officially started to look to chop up or reject, but this was the end of our road up here. That's where I really just started. I was done with the play at this point. Yeah, but pretty simple today. Held our key pivot. This is why it's important for us to go over our charts every single night and adjust our key pivots to the exact extent that we want, because you guys saw it yesterday. I just didn't like the levels that I was placing down, so I just erased all my levels and we drew them up with scratch, and look how they played out today. It was a beautiful hold. We knew a hold above 736.25 was gonna. The range is all the way up to our all-time high levels. What did we do? We pushed all the way to our all-time high levels. We got the confirmation above our main all-time high levels, and we just got the continuation to the upside. Any questions on the play? Oh, and let's just go over the gamma chart, because the gamma chart was just straight up money today. I don't even gotta talk too much about this. So this is 910. All right, I got into the play around I think around like 9:05. So I'm gonna start it from right here. I'm gonna make the screen smaller so I can get it on the recording. And this is what I mean when I say the flips are real good, strong walls in some cases, especially when they line up with our key pivot right here. I just played the hold of our positive turning from negative, and I just seen that our positive was stronger. Our control node was 741 all morning. That was beamed up. That was the, if anything, that was my biggest indicator that we were going to continue to the upside towards our all-time high levels. That 741 beam was too strong to even avoid. And once we started sweeping above that 741, we used it as a base. It used to be our resistance. Now we're looking for this resistance to turn into our support. Now that we officially broke above it, and then boom, you see how we broke above it and then just held up above. It's a simple roadmap, and we just make our roadmaps align with our charts every single time. Oh yeah, bro, Nicola, I just stopped using that indicator, bro. I still got it right here. Look, it's the top one, but I really don't use it anymore. It just causes too much noise. You see, like I'd rather just use my my shit that I use. You know what I mean? So I'd rather just work to get my own supply and demands because it's good for beginners to understand where supply and demand zone is. But sometimes this indicator on in areas where there's a lot of chop, sometimes this indicator just gives extra confusion because it drops a lot of zones. So it's just better to play with what you know in your chart. But it's good for beginners for sure. Any questions, fellas? Clean day. Any questions on the play? Any confusion? Anything that you guys want to know on the play itself? I think it's pretty simple. We pretty much ran it. Ran the explanation through really clean, simple. We swept the higher day open. We held our key pivot trend, especially on the 9 EMA, on the 5 minute. Every time we touched it in these earlier phases too, we just kept bouncing and bouncing. So there's really no indication that we were that our uptrend was gonna break. Every time we got a retest of any downtrend that tried, got rejected ASAP. No indication. Use the levels as your use the levels and high of day as high of day, low of day, and your levels as your indicator for profit targets. But I like to take majority of my profits already up 50% depending on how quick the play moves. Sometimes it might be around 50%. Sometimes it might be 100% depending if the play move quick. But I usually like to look for the plays that I can bank over 50%. Obviously, there's going to be some situations where we're hitting our key pivot, but in that moment we're hitting our key pivot, we've had a lot of chop and consolidation on that grind towards our key pivot that it might have burned our contract. So we just gotta take those percentages as well. Sometimes there's gonna be those little 40%, 30%. I really don't think 20% are much of a winners for me. But I usually like to take over. Like to take plays over 50% for sure. Any more questions, fellas? If no more questions, or ladies, if no more questions, then that's gonna be the end for today's session. And then don't leave after this. We're just gonna get over. We're gonna do our end of day recap with our end of day analysis with our new levels. But yeah, there's no more questions. Then I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Thank you guys. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining me here, May 14th on Thursday. Today we're gonna be going over our end of day recap. Today we ended up going with calls based off the fact that once we opened up, we had a pretty strong gap up. we had a gap up overnight, which the gap up overnight wasn't too big, so it's nothing major that I would usually look into. But the main thing that the first thing I'm starting to look at is how we defend the last zone that we rejected from yesterday. By that I mean the zone of 743.68. If you guys remember yesterday, I had my key pivot a little bit higher up here, but obviously I don't play as soon as the market opens. I usually like to wait for the price action to settle down a little bit. So as soon as the price settled down a little bit, the main thing that I noticed was that one, we were above my key pivot that I originally had placed yesterday, which I told you guys for us to see more upside, we're gonna have to start closing above the 743 key pivot that we originally have. I think it was around 743.75. But we started closing above that key pivot. We started holding it up. So in this case right here, once we start breaking this key pivot of 743.69, I immediately start. I'm gonna draw it out for you guys so it can look a little bit more simple. But the same zone that we rejected yesterday, I'm looking for the same zone to turn into our resistance zone. Now that we gapped up above it and pushing above it, I'm watching for this resistance to turn into our support. And as soon as we start breaking above that, I like to play above on the 90 MA on the 15 minute. On us catching up, we could not sweep back below underneath our open of 743.69, which for me 743.69 was my stop loss, because a close underneath that is signifying that we're gonna start pushing down to the same range that we had gotten showed, that the price actually showed us yesterday underneath 743.69. We usually got the push back down under to 742.11. So in this case right here, I'm watching for the open to hold us up as our resistance. Not only that, if we look into our heat map, this is 9 a.m. We entered the play around this range of 744. 744 was the main level that kept us from going from positive gamma into our negative gamma zone. So in these cases, it was pretty much the same setup as yesterday. We broke above our last support range, or we are heavy into our positive gamma range. I'm using our open as support for a double bottom, because I noticed that the last 15-minute candle, this red 15-minute candle, that was a weak bearish candle. Weak in the sense that it was only half the size that it was this candle right here. So this right here by itself is, and on the 5-minute, is making for a double bottom right here. And as soon as we got that double bottom break, we see that our positive to negative gamma flip is, if we hold above 744, which that's where we gapped up above and started holding right away, as with the break right above of that level. So with us holding our positive gamma range and our key pivot, that pretty much showed us that, let me see, let me switch the expirations, clear just today's date. We can see still at 744, 747 was the strike that was getting beamed up. And if we align that 747 key pivot with our levels, yesterday we had the 747.83 key pivot from our Fibonacci system. So everything just ended up aligning for us. Yesterday we already had the game plan, a break above yesterday's high of day. That was the confirmation that we're going to continue seeing the upside towards our 747, which that played as the next key control node. And as soon as we broke that 747, we pretty much just kept pushing towards above 749, 749.50. And with that 749.50, that pretty much aligned with the next control node wall that we had at 750. And once we tested that range right there, we just got the rejection off it. But it was pretty much a simple scenario of same as yesterday. We waited for the 90 MA on the 15 minute to catch up. We waited for a double bottom scenario. We waited to see if we stayed above our key pivot. Our key pivot is the one that kept us from going from our positive into our negative gamma. So we held our positive gamma with the aka our dips are getting bought up. We have a strong control node towards 747 to the upside. 747 just looked the best risk to reward option for me. I got you, Sean. So with the 90 MA, you guys know I don't really use too many indicators. The only indicators I use on my charts are the 5 minute 90 MA and VWAP. And I also use those two indicators on the 5 minute, 15 minute, and the hourly, and the 4 hour, obviously. Any time frame, but the main time frames I look at are the 5 minute, the 15 minute, and the hourly. But when it comes to trend days, especially on trend days where we're a little bit overextended, because if we looked at the complete push that we've had throughout these past, dang, throughout these past couple days, it's been a pretty crazy push to the upside. So we're a little bit overextended. So for me, I like the retracement back and a carry above the 90 MA. The 90 MA is just my a big trend indicator for me. If we start, for me, I told you guys that we start breaking underneath the 90 MA on the 15 minute. That's an indicator that we're pretty much GG's for the day, VWAP, and that's exactly what happened. We tried to break a little bit above because our control nodes were calling to the upside still, but it was still a VWAP day, and price action will upside move was pretty much invalidated as soon as we closed underneath our 90 EMA on the 15 minute. And obviously, there's other signs before that to know that the upside trend is invalidated already. Like once we already start closing underneath a bullish staircase pattern, like in this candle right here, this was pretty much the main indication right here that okay, this staircase pattern is officially done. By staircase, I mean higher lows on the grind up. But with the sweep right here on this candle right here, that was pretty much the indication, especially breaking underneath the 90 man, the 5 minute. Sign number one. Sign number two, once we started sweeping underneath the 90 man, the 15 minute, that was pretty much my sign that this price action was choppy for the day. What I've noticed on downtrend days, the 90 MA on the 5 minute works a little bit much better because on downtrend days, the price action tends to move a lot quicker compared to days where we've been pushing to the upside for over an extended period. So in those cases, I wait for the EM 90 MA on the 15 minute to catch up to continue the trend up. And then obviously I follow that along with my confirmations of a hold of my key pivot. We held my key pivot. We followed the 90 MA. We got the control node target and our Fibonacci level out the way. Bro, just align these levels with SPX, bro. That's how I used to play SPX. I never charted SPX. I just played SPX based on my SPY levels. Any questions on the play, fellas? Now that should be everything. I can show you guys the rest of the day on the gamma map, how the gamma map worked based off once we started testing that gamma wall 750. But yeah, we just struggled to break that 750 wall. Couldn't break it. Pushed all the way back down to VWAP. We gotta use these walls as price targets. We know the range is gonna be around this range. Once it already gets to 749.50, that already counts in the gamma map as 750. Because if it's between 749.50 and 750.50, that counts as 750. And then likewise, as you go higher, 750.5, that already counts that you're inside the 751 strike. Just so you guys know. I don't know, bro. Tomorrow's OPEC, so I don't know if I'll be playing tomorrow. I really don't like playing OPEC sometimes. Some OPEX it pays well, some OPEX is not. I mean, it's been a pretty great month, so I'm not really gonna stress myself on that. If I see something I like, I'll definitely let you guys know. Any questions, guys? If not, then that should be everything for the end of the day analysis on the play for the upside. Pretty simple. We just uh, we just got the confirmation that we broke above our yesterday's range. We held the confirmation above yesterday's range and continue to the upside. and our gamma map told us the rest of the story. Appreciate you, my boy. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Like always, don't leave. We're gonna go over our end of day analysis for our new levels for tomorrow. Thank you guys for stopping by.